Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about what ISO is best for shooting at night for real estate photography. Now, the ISO setting that you set at night will definitely depend on what camera body you're using. There are some cameras that perform extremely poorly in low light and some that perform very well. For example, when I started shooting luxury photography, I started off shooting with a 5D Mark III. Shortly after, I transitioned to the Sony a7R to shoot luxury photography, and the difference was night and day, especially in the shadows. The Canon would produce so much noise that you would have to limit how much boost in shadows you can do in the editing process, while the Sony performed so much better. So the ISO setting that you set is really going to depend on what camera body you're using. Now, you don't have to go out and get the most expensive camera. You can easily find an inexpensive used Sony camera, and from my experience, Sonys do better for photography in low light than Canons. Now, usually when I'm shooting at night, I usually try to cap my ISO setting to 400. There may be times where you have to go beyond the 400 ISO limit, but just know going further beyond 400, at least on the cameras that I shoot with, you'll likely have to do some noise reduction and some additional editing to make it look top shape. There may be times where the available light is so little that your exposure time might be 30 seconds. Now, when shooting real estate photography, it's important to manage your shutter speed because you only have so much time shooting a property. And if you're trying to go through a property relatively fast and deliver a lot of different photos, you're gonna have to have a quick shutter speed. And one way to manage that is by boosting ISO. So there are times where I have boosted to 1600. Beyond the 1600, you may have to do some noise reduction during the editing process. Now, when it comes to video, it really just depends on your camera as well that you're using. Now, at some recent real estate video shoots, I've been able to push my ISO even beyond 25,000 ISO, but I'm using the Sony a7S III, and that camera performs phenomenally in low light. So you will have to do some testing on your camera to know what is appropriate from an ISO setting. I usually try to keep the ISO setting at 3200 or below, but in extremely low light conditions, I do push it beyond that. But I do know the limitations of the camera that I'm using. So know that all cameras are not created equally. Some perform well during the day and perform poorly at night. Others perform awesome all day long. So the ISO that you use on your camera will definitely depend on what camera body you're using and its limitations. So make sure that you're out testing your gear before you're out at a shoot. The last thing you want to do is to shoot at a super high ISO, get back to your computer, and the photos look extremely grainy. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video on ISO and what the best ISO setting is for low light. If you guys have any additional questions, feel free to leave them below. Also, if you're interested in learning more about the real estate media business, click the link in the description. You can check out our free 1-hour training, and we'll see you guys on the next one.